Welcome, Perfect. Here's the continuation of your 70 Killer Serial Killers Still on the Loose script, written in the same storytelling style and structured in full paragraph form, blending options 1, 2, and 3. It continues naturally from your last line about the FBI and truck drivers, expanding the story, deepening the mystery, and slowly pulling the reader into a darker, investigative tone. Truck drivers, the unsung ghosts of the highway. They cross states, vanish into rest stops, and live lives untracked by the usual rules of society. The FBI has long warned that the open road creates perfect conditions for predation. Miles of unmonitored land, victims who are transient, and truckers who can move a body hundreds of miles away before anyone even realizes someone's missing. This isn't speculation, it's statistics. Over the years, the Bureau has linked dozens of cold cases to long-haul truck routes, forming a chilling map known as the Highway Serial Killings Initiative. It's a digital graveyard of dots scattered across America's interstates, each representing an unsolved murder or unidentified body found near a rest stop, truck stop, or service road. Every dot tells a story. Every dot could be another victim. One of the most infamous names tied to this dark phenomenon is Bruce Mendenhall, a former truck driver from Illinois who was arrested in 2007. He looked like an average middle-aged man, the kind you might see sipping coffee at a truck stop diner. But beneath that mild exterior was a traveling killer who admitted to multiple murders across several states. He lured sex workers, shot them, and left their bodies near interstates. When police searched his truck, they found blood, weapons, and women's belongings. Mendenhall later confessed to killing at least 6 women, but investigators believe there could be many more. He wasn't the only one. Robert Ben Rhodes, dubbed the Truck Stop Killer, transformed his 18-wheeler into a mobile torture chamber, complete with handcuffs, chains, and soundproof walls. For years, he abducted hitchhikers and travelers, leaving a trail of bodies across the American heartland. But even these monsters were eventually caught. What's terrifying is how many like them remain unidentified. The FBI's database currently lists over 450 murder cases believed to be linked to long-haul trucking routes, and for many of them, no suspect has ever been named. That means some of the very same men hauling freight today might have blood under their nails. It's a grim thought, but a necessary one. America's highways might be the most dangerous hunting grounds in the world. If you think it's just highways, think again. The darkness doesn't just travel. It hides in plain sight. Take the case of the West Mesa bone collector. In 2009, a woman walking her dog on the outskirts of Albuquerque, New Mexico, stumbled upon a human bone. Authorities soon unearthed the remains of 11 women, all buried in shallow graves in the desert. Each victim was linked to sex work or drugs, and most had gone missing between 2001 and 2005. Despite extensive investigation, the killer was never identified. Police believe he may have lived in the area, possibly even attended vigils for his own victims. To this day, the West Mesa killer walks free. The case mirrors another haunting mystery from Canada, the Highway of Tears. Stretching across British Columbia, this lonely road has become synonymous with horror. Since the 1970s, dozens of Indigenous women have vanished or been found murdered along this stretch of highways. Local activists claim the real number is much higher, hidden in missing persons files and ignored reports. Police have connected a few of these murders to known offenders, but the majority remain unsolved. Families say the reason is clear: systemic neglect. The victims came from poor, remote communities, people the world was too willing to forget. And where there's neglect, predators thrive. Psychologists often describe serial killers as apex opportunists. They don't necessarily choose victims by type. They choose them by vulnerability. those living on society's margins, the isolated, the overlooked. These are the people who disappear first. That's what makes the subject of active killers so frightening. They don't all fit the Hollywood image of a deranged genius or scarred monster. Sometimes they're quiet men with stable jobs and families. They attend church, pay bills, and wave to neighbors. They've learned the art of blending in. The most dangerous monsters, after all, are the ones you don't see coming. Consider the Colonial Parkway murders. Between 1986 and 1989, 8 young people were found dead along Virginia's Colonial Parkway, a scenic route connecting historic towns. Couples were found in their cars, executed, and left near the water. There were no signs of robbery or sexual assault. The killer's motive was never clear, and no suspect was ever charged. Some theorize that the murderer posed as law enforcement to gain his victims' trust. Others believe he was a local familiar with the terrain. Decades later, DNA advancements have brought investigators closer, but the case remains unsolved. For families, each anniversary is a reminder that justice has yet to arrive. What's even more unnerving is that these killers adapt to their environment. Gone are the days of handwritten letters and taunting notes to the press, like the Zodiac Killer. Today's predators use encrypted chats, burner phones, and social media. The digital age hasn't stopped them, it's empowered them. Online dating platforms, ride-sharing apps, and freelance marketplaces have created new ways to lure victims without ever leaving the couch. Think of Philip Markoff, the Craigslist killer, a medical student who used online ads to meet and murder women in hotel rooms. If that sounds like a one-time anomaly, think again. There are dozens of unsolved murders tied to online exchanges, and law enforcement struggles to trace them because the digital footprints are fleeting. The killers have evolved with technology. Then there are those who operate across borders. In Europe, the case of the Long Island serial killer has its mirror in the unsolved Monster of Florence murders in Italy, which terrorized couples for nearly 2 decades. In Japan, the Twitter killer, Takahiro Shiraishi, lured suicidal people through social media, promising to help them die, only to kill them himself. In Mexico, Juarez became infamous for hundreds of murdered women whose killers were never caught, their cases buried under corruption and cartel violence. Evil, it seems, has no passport. But beyond the horror lies a question few dare to ask. Why do some of these killers never stop, while others suddenly vanish? Experts believe it's not always because they've been caught or died. It's because they've evolved. Some settle down, start families, and suppress their urges. Others find ways to channel their darkness into less obvious outlets. And some, the most chilling of all, change methods so drastically that police never link their new crimes to their old ones. It's as if they reinvent themselves, erasing the past while continuing their work in silence. Even more disturbing is how close law enforcement sometimes gets, only to miss the truth. In dozens of cold cases, suspects were questioned and released. DNA was collected but misplaced, or evidence was destroyed due to bureaucratic error. In one case, the Baton Rouge serial killer was almost caught years earlier, but the wrong DNA profile delayed his arrest. In another, a truck driver suspected in multiple killings across Ohio and Kentucky was released because 2 jurisdictions failed to share case data. For every solved case, there are 10 that slipped through the cracks. And in those cracks, killers disappear. Into the crowd, into another town, into another life. What makes serial killers particularly terrifying isn't just their violence, but their patience. Most people think of murder as an impulsive act, a moment of rage. Serial murder is the opposite. It's ritual. It's planned, practiced, perfected. Every detail, from the victim's type to the timing of the act, is part of a psychological cycle. Criminologists call it the cooling off period, the time between murders when the killer recharges emotionally before hunting again. For some, that break lasts weeks. For others, decades. That means a man who last killed in 1995 might still be alive, watching, waiting for the moment when his control breaks again. If there's one truth that binds all these stories, it's that evil is ordinary. It doesn't wear a mask or announce itself. It could be the man delivering your mail, the woman behind you in line, or the quiet neighbor mowing his lawn at sunset. These killers exist, not because they're supernatural, but because they understand something about us. We see what we want to see. We trust what looks normal, and normal is their camouflage. So the next time you drive down a dark highway, pass a lone gas station at midnight, or scroll through a stranger's profile online, remember this: somewhere out there, the hunt may never have ended. The killers of yesterday didn't all vanish. Some of them just learned to survive among us.